Hello, Herlighters. It's Erin Foley back in the booth talking women's sports. Very excited to be here today. Let me take you through what's going to happen. I am coming in hot. Full disclosure. You know that Melissa McCarthy movie where she's on a jet ski and she sees the land but she can't stop and then she just like barrels onto the land. I think that scene was also in The Hangover Part 86. That is me, and I will tell you why. I've been on the road for about 10 days. I was in New York City. I went to the U.S. Women's National Team game against Mexico. That was super fun. They celebrated the 99ers and the 85ers. Joy, pure joy. Then a couple days later, I went to see the New York Liberty versus the Connecticut Sun. Fantastic game. After that game, I went back to my buddy Jen's house and we watched the U.S. Women's National Team play Colombia, do a 0-0 score. Still entertaining. I'm still feeling very hopeful and positive going into the Olympics. Then I flew back to L.A. about 24 hours to recover. Jumped in a car with my buddy Gretchen. We drove to Phoenix, and I just spent this past weekend in Phoenix experiencing my first All-Star Weekend, and it was time of my life. So here's how this podcast is going to shake down. And I'll tell you reason number 45, I'm coming in hot. Yesterday, I had an 11 a.m. flight from Phoenix to LA, which is literally takes about an hour. I got to the airport at 10 a.m. and I left at 7:40 p.m. I spent 9.5 hours in the Phoenix airport. So if anybody has any questions about Terminal C or Terminal D, where to eat, clean bathrooms, where the quiet spaces are, where there's really accessible outlets where you can find a good burger. For me, it's veggie burger, but I heard the people around me saying they were good regular burgers. And also just like really good spaces just to have an absolute breakdown. Just hit me up, call me or email, and I will talk you through the Phoenix airport. Anyway, I got home around 10 o'clock last night. It is Monday. It's just me today. Hopefully we'll squeeze out some, half hour, but buckle up because I've got some great stories. So that's why I'm coming in extra hot today. Is that something coming in extra hot? We're keeping that in. Okay, people, let me just break this down. Overall, the theme of this podcast is going to be if you have any opportunity to go to any sport live, go to the game. Of course, I've been preaching that since day one. But if you have any opportunity to go see an all-star game, and it's an all-star weekend, I went to like the skills competition on Friday, which I'll talk to you about, and the all-star game on Saturday, besides a ton of fun stories in between. Just go. Just absolutely go. It does not matter if you're sitting in the 300 cheap seats. Who cares? The overall word for this weekend was joy, joyful, joyous. The energy, the excitement. I mean, it was so much fun. And, this to me was sort of my summer vacation. And New York City was 96 degrees and Arizona was 116 degrees. So that happened. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to walk you through some fun stories about Friday, some fun stories about Saturday, and also just a shout out because Cheryl Miller was on, one of my 4 original flights, too long of a story. She was on my flight yesterday in Phoenix. We wound up not going to LA together because I bounced and went on another plane that was delayed 2.5 hours. Here's the point. Just seeing these people in person was just kind of jarring because, you've seen them on TV and I've talked about them and I've followed their careers for so long. But there were so many fun run-ins with people that I've just loved for so long. It's like, what do you say? So I'll give you a couple of run-ins that I had, and then we'll talk about the Friday skills competition, Saturday game. I have some really fun announcements. You're going to have to wait to the end because they're surprises and they're fun. And of course, the feel good moment of the week. And then we'll be back next week with a fantastic guest. And we'll probably be doing a lot of Olympic content. All right. So let's just get into it. Cheryl Miller, like literally 4 feet away from me in the airport. We were all going to Burbank. And I just was like, what do you say? What do you say to Cheryl Miller? Okay. One of the greatest, obviously, you could argue this, but, in most people's opinion, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Never got an opportunity to play in the WNBA because, she was older by then, but, heralded career. If you don't know her, look her up. Just spend an hour of your life just enjoying the prowess of Cheryl Miller. But I passed her like walking down the aisle. Like, what do you say? Like, oh, hey, you like the window? You like the window seat? I've loved you forever. Like, I can't. So of course I made no eye contact and just kept it moving. All right. So Friday we check into the hotel, right? It's me and my buddy Gretchen, who shout out to Gretchen Enders, fantastic TV writer, showrunner, and just the best sports wing woman of all time. So, and she likes sports, but like obviously not on my level. She just likes a fun road trip. That's why it was so fun. So we check in, right? I don't even know what to expect. I turned around, Marina Mabry, just checking in behind me. And it's one of these moments where you just have to like remain cool, but you're like, Marina Mabry, like I've watched her entire Notre Dame career, then Dallas and LA and all, she had just gotten traded like 4 days before that. And by the way, this is going to be a tangential podcast because I haven't slept since, 12 days ago. But when I saw the Connecticut Sun Liberty game, and Connecticut looked pretty terrible, and Liberty beat them fairly easily without Stewie and without Laney Hamilton. They needed a shooter, but it's just so jarring. I can't imagine how jarring it is for a player to wake up and you're part of this, Chicago Sky community, rebuilding, a lot of excitement, teaspoon, and all of a sudden you're playing for the Connecticut Sun. So I just turned around, like all I wanted to do is be like, hey, do you have like, 15 minutes to an hour and a half to sit down on the couch and we can discuss all of this? One day she'll be on the podcast. Of course, I made no eye contact and ran to the elevator. But these are the thoughts in my head. I'm like, I want to sit down with Cheryl Miller. I want to sit down with Marina Mabry. So it was like that all weekend long. Like we went to breakfast in the morning and Carolyn Peck was just sitting next to us, like having an omelet by herself. And I'm like, can I pull up a chair and we can discuss this whole net cutting and pieces of the net transferring from Carolyn Peck to Dawn Staley? If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up that story. It is absolutely amazing. Anyway, so we just kept running into people and it was just, I don't know. It was so awesome. I know I'm like a kid in a candy store, but I was thrilled the entire weekend. And, I live in LA, I work in the entertainment business. You see celebrities all the time and I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But like the amount of gasps I had, I'd be like, that's just so fun. Okay. Last run-in moment, and then we'll start with the skills competition. We're in line. I think this is now Saturday night. We're in line, to go into the stadium. Footprint Center, Phoenix, Arizona, sold out, 16,000 people. Beautiful, beautiful. I don't know if they call them arenas. Let's just call them the stadium. Just awesome. Just the energy, the vibe was so great. So my buddy Gretchen, who listens to the podcasts, we've been friends for like 15 years. Again, not a huge basketball fan or a sports fan, but she had watched the ESPN documentary that we covered called Full Court Press, right? So I had done, if you're new to the podcast, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, I did an episode based on the ESPN documentary Full Court Press, which featured Kiki Rice from UCLA, Caitlin Clarke, and Camila Cardozo. So we're in line about to go in and she goes, Erin, I think Kiki Rice is right behind you. And I was like, what? And I just looked to the right and she's just alone in line going up. I don't know if nobody wanted to bother her. Nobody knew who she was, but I was like, holy crap. Like I go see UCLA basketball all the time. They're my team besides UConn, obviously, ride or die from birth, but adopted UCLA out here. And Gretchen was like, you've avoided everybody you've seen. You have to go get a picture with Kiki Rice. I'm like, okay, I'll just do it because she was alone and I felt like I wasn't bothering her. And of course I acted weird and I went up to her and I was like, hey, listen, I'm a huge UCLA fan. I'm totally normal. Like who says I'm totally normal? I was like, I'm totally normal. And she's like, yeah, whatever. Do you just want a picture? She was so sweet. We took a photo. It was adorable. Anyway, that was my one moment where Gretchen made me take a photo. Okay, so we go to the skills competition on Friday night. The place, here's a fun fact. 2 years ago, I don't know where this was, but the skills competition is 3-point contest. They do like a passing and shooting contest. They did a little preview of the 3x3 Olympics first under 23. There's a mascot competition. It's just dumb fun. 2 years ago, it was held in the convention center Again, I don't know where the location was. I should have looked that up, but you get my drift. Now, because the WNBA has gotten so popular over the last 2 years, it was in the stadium Friday night. It wasn't sold out, but I would say there's probably 13,000, maybe a couple of thousand seats were empty, maybe. I mean, incredible, right? So they have to 2 years ago, they had to construct a court and people, I don't know, it was probably only a couple of thousand people. And now I'd say 13, 14,000 people were there just to watch the skills competition. So awesome. So here's a couple highlights. The players on the sidelines cheering them on when Taurasi came in, the stadium lost their minds. Skills. So the big story was Allisha Gray, who I was familiar with, but I didn't really know. She's a fantastic player for the Atlanta Dream. She wins the passing shooting skills competition. So adorable. And then turns around. Then there was two other events. And then the 3-point contest is always the last contest, the big one. She turns around and wins the 3-point contest. And it was really exciting. Obviously, it's not the Sabrina Ionescu craziness that probably will never be repeated. I think she missed one ball on the rack. But it was really, really fun to see the 3-point contest. So Mabry was in, I think Kelsey Mitchell. There's a whole bunch of players. Kayla McBride, who I picked to win, but she didn't win. And then in the final round, the craziness was Jonquel Jones, JJ from my New York Liberty. She is 6'6". So you figured, obviously, it's going to be a guard that wins a 3-point contest. She came within one shot of winning the 3-point contest. She set the place on fire. 6'6", dropping 3-pointers like she had a blindfold on. The place was losing their minds, right? So people were, Allisha Gray just had won the shooting and passing skills. So of course we were cheering her on. But the crowd, I think, definitely wanted Jonquel Jones to win because she came in second a couple years ago. But it came down to the last ball and she missed and Allisha Gray won. And let me tell you this. Allisha Gray's salary for the year is $185K, right? For the double win in the skills competition and 3-point contest, she won $115,000. So her salary is $185, and in one night she won $115,000, which was amazing. First player to win skills challenge and 3-point contest in the same year. Sabrina's done it before and Becky Hammond's done it before, but not in the same year. So big shout out to Allisha Gray. Do I have more on Allisha Gray? Yes, I do. Does that mean it could be a later queue up for the feel good moment of the week? Quite possibly. You're going to have to stay tuned. A couple more details, really fun stuff from the night. They did maybe a 10-15 minute little mini game of the 3x3, the Olympic squad against the under 23 squad. And that was really fun because I'd never seen 3x3 live before. Ryan Howard just absolutely crushing it, just dropping threes into the, I feel like we're in good hands, but she was just the star. She is the star of that Olympic squad. And then a really fun shout out to Cody McMahon of Ohio State. She's on the under 23 team. And you might be familiar if you're an Ohio State fan. Obviously, you know Cody McMahon. But I was thinking to myself, maybe not a lot of people know Cody McMahon. If you're a big women's college basketball fan, you'll know her. But Indiana, because of the Caitlin Clarke craziness, they played Ohio State a couple, maybe 2-3 times during the season. And you might have seen Cody McMahon play for Ohio State. I think she just kind of dominated one of those games against Indiana. I felt like it was her coming out debut. I think she scored over 30 and just absolutely crushed it. So it was really fun to see her on the court. She did fantastic. So before NCAA starts in the fall, check that name, Cody McMahon. Watch her. She was incredible. Okay, now here is one of my highlights. Of course, this is dumb and fun because, whatever. The mascots, right? So Ellie, the elephant from New York Liberty, is just the greatest mascot of all time. And it's not because I'm a Liberty fan. When she is on the court, everybody can't take their eyes off her. She, all through Friday night and all through Saturday night, and the stars were out courtside on Saturday night. She just the mascots were doing all these things and she just was walking around dancing. Just like she was twerking with Megan Rapinoe on Saturday night. I can't even tell you. It was so feel good and hilarious. She's so funny. So there was this in between when they were setting up after 3x3, before they were setting up for the 3-point contest, they did this little mascot thing. All the mascots came out, fun, dumb, whatever. There was like a craziness of like them jumping off springboards and dunking, just fun. They played this like musical chairs and they had to go find an item in the crowd, and they'd run out into the crowd, grab the item, and then they come back and whoever didn't have a chair was like out. Okay, fine, cute, fun. But the ridiculous part is, full disclosure, I had a couple gin and tonics. They were like, okay, mascots, go into the crowd and find a shoe. And someone would have to give them a shoe. Go in and find a rally towel. So, I had a couple in me and I just kept shouting out, find a lesbian, find a lesbian. Okay. Let me just say, real crowd pleaser, because we were surrounded by a lot of lesbians. Also, listen, a lot of families, a lot of children. It wasn't like, gay central, but that was my contribution to our section. We kept screaming out, find a lesbian. Maybe you had to be there, but I'm still laughing because it was absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, that whole night, super fun. Just seeing like these amazing athletes, the passing, the shooting competition, Sophie Cunningham for Phoenix, Brittany Griner, they were in the shooting and passing skills competition. Of course, they're, homegrown Phoenix. So the place went nuts. Taurasi and her wife Penny come out. The place goes nuts. Then they put Clarke in Boston on the Jumbotron. It was just fun. It was just so fun. And I love that there was a huge payday that these women are now like, being paid for all of this stuff. So that was this whole skills competition on Friday night. Saturday, there was, they did such a good job. There was a convention center. It was 116 degrees. So basically, our hotel was across the street from the arena. So we went to the arena, the Footprint Center. And then across the street was a convention center. And it was packed with like meet and greets, swag. You could take fun photos, more for children and crazy super fans. But Gretchen and I did a loop, got some free socks, took some dumb photos and left. But they did such a fantastic job. So if you're like a family, bring your kids. There's tons of kids stuff to do. And if you're a super fan, we went from the bar to the game to the convention center. It was absolutely so much fun. Okay, so Saturday, the game itself, we go in and let's just say it was like electric. The energy, by the way, Pitbull at halftime performing. I mean, this is an Erin Foley dream sequence. I was dancing and watching basketball and having cocktails. I mean, is there a better trifecta? Not for me, people. You walked in. Now, we were there the night before and it was fun and energetic and crazy. This was a next level. Of course, we go in. Listen, don't want to name drop, but Sarah Spain, the Good Game with Sarah Spain, which I will give a shout out at the end of the show. She was there. So I texted her. We all met before the game to have a drink. Her friends were so awesome. And like, by the way, her friends were like, president of the Valkyries, the expansion team in San Francisco. I'm going to get all these people on my podcast. President of the Toronto WNBA. And they're all just like awesome, fun people. So we all go over together. Yeah, atmosphere was electric, so much energy, kids, and it was fantastic. I've never seen so there was random players kind of walking around who you'd recognize. And WNBA players that, obviously came and supported. So there were some collegiate players there, retired players. They would just be walking around. I've never seen so many children and adults, all genders, races, sexuality, does not matter, just chasing down these athletes for pictures. It was hysterical. Like grown ass women would see someone and just sprint to get a photo. I mean, I could not stop laughing. Also, the number of women that were just in my friend group and then overhearing people running into their ex-girlfriends, epic. Absolutely epic. Did I run into one of mine? Yes, I did. But she's a delight. So that was really fun. So another sidebar, just so many stories. It was like Russian doll, a story within a story within a game within another game. Game is about to start. They start announcing the players. They announce the NBA All-Stars first. Place goes crazy. Also, I thought, well, the place is like they're going to lose their mind with Clarke and Reese, and they did. But it was honestly pretty equal for everybody. Everyone was just so excited to cheer everybody on. So the WNBA All-Stars come out, and here's just an amazing moment. So Cheryl Miller, obviously, who I just referenced, the GOAT. So she's coaching the WNBA All-Stars. Well, the night before, she was on the Jumbotron. Place goes crazy. But she's sitting right next to Ann Myers Drysdale. Now, Ann Myers, Hall of Famer. These are women that created. She was a teammate with like Pat Summitt on the national team. These are the women that literally created what we're seeing today. She's just an icon. Ann Myers is an icon. So she's sitting right next to Cheryl Miller, but Ann Myers doesn't get on the Jumbotron. So, and we're all just like, oh my God, that's Ann Myers, right? So, Coach Miller, right? So, Cheryl Miller's coaching the team. And then right before the WNBA All Stars come out, she takes like a All-Star jacket, hands it to Ann Myers and grabs her, and she becomes the assistant coach. I swear to God, we were all like tearing up. It was a phenomenal moment. Then they finally put them on the Jumbotron. The place goes crazy. So it was just like this really special moment of, recognizing, present day, Asia Wilson, all the stars, future Clarke, Reese, but also paying like respect and homage to Ann Myers Drysdale. I don't know if she goes by Ann Myers or Ann Myers Drysdale. That's why I keep flip flopping. Let's just say Ann Myers. Cheryl Miller, just like these OGs. They put 4 or 5 women that were on the first WBL league. It was just really great. It was just a really great moment of kind of respecting and cheering on all the generations. So Taurasi, the last player to be called. They do the Olympic team next. Asia Wilson, place goes nuts. But Taurasi's the last person to get announced. I thought the roof was going to like literally cave in. I know she's local because we're in Phoenix, but everybody lost their minds. And I felt so grateful to be there. Her last Olympics, the send off. I've been a fan, I grew up a UConn fan. So, I've loved her since she was like, I don't know, 17 or 18. It was just awesome. It was just such a fantastic moment. And so then they get on the court and then you're like, oh, that's right. We have a basketball game to see. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but I'll talk you through a couple points. Such phenomenal basketball. Okay, so the WNBA All-Stars went on to beat the Olympic team. Kind of a tale of two halves. It was pretty close to the first half. But what the cool thing is they rotated people in constantly, right? So you got to see like all your favorite players. And in the first half, everyone, I felt like everyone was waiting for a couple of things. They were waiting for Taurasi to score. They're waiting for Asia Wilson to score. It feels like that, those were the couple of the favorites on the Olympic team. They were waiting for the Clarke Reese connection. They were waiting for a Clarke logo 3. And then whoever your favorite players were to come in, right? It was kind of like that vibe. That's what everyone was kind of talking about. So pretty close in the first half, but you could tell the Olympic team, like they were I'll just say Team USA, they were tentative. And I think at the end of the game, especially in the second half, it just kind of felt like this vibe of like nobody wanted to get hurt. It really felt like they weren't going full throttle. I think that's the expression. Collier didn't play much. Chelsea Gray didn't play much. Thomas didn't play much. So I felt like, and then the All-Stars went nuts. In the second half, at one point they had like a 15-point lead. And that's when Arike Ogunbowale, who we have to talk about, went off. 34 second half points. Her second MVP. She took over the game. And at one point I was like, are the other players like maybe like a little bit annoyed because they didn't get like a ton of shots in the second half, but it really didn't feel that way. It felt like everyone was kind of celebrating this like epic shooting performance. Now, Arike, obviously one of the premier shooters in the WNBA from day one. She was also, if you don't know her, puts in the game-winning shots in the semifinals and the finals in NCAA. I think that was, I don't know, 2017 or 18. We talked about it on this podcast before. But she took herself out of the running for the Olympic for Team USA. And it was controversial, right? This happened about a month ago. She has not explained why. She said politics. She said she realized she wasn't going to make the team because of politics. And so she took herself out so she could focus on the Dallas Wings. That's what the team she plays for, the WNBA. But still to this day, everyone, even like Jamel Hill on Twitter, was like, would love to know the story behind that. So it wasn't surprising because a lot of people thought going into the game, like I was talking about it on Friday with friends that we were just, having a beer discussing the game, is no one was surprised that Arike went off, right? She obviously has a chip in her shoulder. I don't know why she didn't make the Olympic team, but 34 points in the second half. She said at halftime, Cheryl Miller told her to take a deep breath, just play her game. She went off. The place, I mean, she dropped in so many three-pointers in a row. The place was like losing its mind. And you figured like, well, most people are going to be cheering for Team USA because, the Olympics start. Everybody was cheering for everybody. Like anytime anybody made a bucket, people were losing their minds. On Team USA side, Stewie dropped in 31 points, 10 rebounds. Asia Wilson, 22 points. And another cool thing is Taurasi had 14 points, tons of three-pointers. So it felt like everybody got what they wanted. Like for me, I wanted Taurasi to like light up. Obviously, Stewie and Wilson are like the number one and number two in the league for the last like 3 or 4 years. Just so great. Just so great. We had this whole Arike drama. We had, mostly defense. It wasn't like, the Olay defense. Got a little chippy with Kelsey Plum guarding Clarke full court. We had everything. Everything was in that game. Caitlin Clarke broke the All-Star game record, assist record for a rookie with 10. I do believe Sue Bird has the record overall with 11. So she almost broke the overall record. I'm sure she will at some point in time. Angel Reese, first rookie in All-Star game history, would record a double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds. I mean, can you ask for anything else? Allisha Gray, 16, NECA. It was so fun to see my girl NECA. She had like 14, 15 points. Kelsey Mitchell shined. It was so fantastic. It was just a really great basketball game. And then, of course, at halftime, Pitbull comes on, and I about lost my mind. A lot of dancing, which I love to do. So between Pitbull and seeing the greatest players in the world play each other, wow, really great. And it honestly felt like at one point Arike hit like her fifth three-pointer, whatever it was, and the place exploded. And the WNBA All-Stars, most of them jumped off the bench. Boston, Clarke, they were just mobbing her. So it just felt like there was so much goodwill. And I don't know what the story is. I don't know why Arike did not make the team, but it was pretty cool to like see her shine on the biggest stage. It was just electric. It was so energizing and it was amazing. Okay, two more quick stories and then feel good moment of the week. Well, actually just kind of one more quick story. So after the game, we go back to our hotel, which was like across the way. We meet back up with a bunch of friends, and some of them are former athletes. Two fun women that we met that are trying to get a team in Cincinnati. It was just so fun to be surrounded by all this like amazing nerdy. We like broke down the game. It was just so fun. We were there for probably like an hour, drinking, hanging out, talking sports. And then in the bar comes Holly Rowe and Rebecca Lobo and Ryan Ruocco. Now, Holly Rowe and Rebecca Lobo are WNBA royalty. Obviously, Rebecca Lobo, phenomenal player on the Olympic team in 96, UConn star. Her career got cut short because of knee injuries, but now she's, the WNBA announcer. And Holly Rowe, national treasure, a WNBA announcer, softball, ESPN, whatever. She does it all. So Holly Rowe and Rebecca Lobo go over to this table, and then the waiter runs over and goes, "No, that table is reserved." Now, there's no other table. It's packed. So there's no other seating. And they're just kind of standing there like, "Oh, okay." And Lobo's like, I guess we'll leave. Anyway, a woman I was with who I just met, her and her partner are the ones that are trying to get this team in Cincinnati. She jumps up. And when I say she jumped up, everybody jumped up. Everyone was trying to give their seats to Holly Rowe and Rebecca Lobo. So my new friend jumps up and she goes, you can't send them away. Like we have to get this table for them. And the waiter's like, this is a table that's reserved. They're like, we don't care. And then she goes, I'll give you $1,000. I'll give you $1,000 to bump whoever has a reserved table for Lobo and Holly Rowe to sit down. We were dying. Like people literally were like throwing their beers, like, I don't need to eat ever again. Like the entire place went nuts so they would have seats. So my friend wound up convincing them that whoever had a reserved table can F off. They sat down and then my friend bought them their meal. I mean, it was like the most ridiculous, hilarious, adorable scenario that everyone was trying to protect WNBA royalty. I loved it. And then LaChina Robinson came in. We were like, it was too much. It was too much for my WNBA heart to take. It was awesome. I think that is it for all the stories. There's probably a lot more, but those are all the highlights. Just overall, sold out stadium, epic energy, electricity. People were losing their minds for the players and Pitbull. I mean, pretty awesome that Pitbull was the halftime act for an all-star game. People were tweeting out, this is the best all-star game of any sport this year. I mean, it was just so great. It just felt like, okay, the momentum and the fan base all came together. And I felt incredibly lucky to be there. Okay, two quick announcements before the feel good moment of the week, because I like ending with that. Good Game with Sarah Spain, daily podcast, iHeartMedia. I am going to be on it. How fun is this? I'm jumping on this week and I'm going to do some sort of fun segment with Sarah Spain. She's having some comics on. I'll record it this week. I think it maybe will be on, I'm going to say maybe Thursday or Friday this week, but listen to it every single day. And then I'm going to pop on it maybe the 25th or the 26th, I'm assuming. So shout out to that. And also, I'm doing a really fun gig for Netflix is a Joke Radio. That is channel 93 on Sirius Radio. There's a particular radio show called What a Joke with Tom Papa and Fortune Feimster. They're my buddies. I'm going to be on that every day for 2 weeks covering the Olympics, which is going to be super fun. So if you get Sirius Radio, channel 93, the show is What a Joke with Tom Papa, Fortune Feimster. They're hilarious and wonderful people. I'm going to be on it this week, previewing a whole bunch of stories and then starting, the Olympics start opening ceremonies on Friday. Our U.S. women's national team starts Thursday, I believe at noon Pacific time. So the kickoff, I'll be doing a segment this week previewing, and then next week starts everyday Olympic coverage. I'm so fired up for that gig. So tune into that. Okay, people, feel good moment of the week. This is full circle. We're coming back to Allisha Gray. I don't know if she could be more charming and more gracious and more adorable. Every time she did anything, she was smiling. She seemed the happiest to be there. Then wins the skills competition, wins the 3-point contest, which came down to the wire. And just smiling and so happy the entire time. So she just wins the 3-point contest. Holly Rowe comes over. They're giving her yet another trophy. She wins another like $55,000 for that. She's like, I can't believe I just won another $55,000. The place is going nuts, right? So Holly Rowe goes up to her and says, asks her a couple quick questions. And then she said, like, what were you thinking? Like, Jonquel Jones had to hit one more shot and she would have won the 3-point competition. And they said, okay, Allisha, like, what were you thinking when she was about to take the shot? This is 2 seconds after. She has no time to like, this isn't a prepared answer, right? This is just on the fly. This is what her answer is when Holly Rowe asks her, what were you thinking when Jonquel Jones could have just beaten you in this competition? She said, the competitor in me wanted her to miss, of course, but the person in me, I like to see other people's successes. So with her winning, I would have still been just as happy. I mean, literally everybody in the stadium was like losing their minds, cheering, welling up. It was so thoughtful. It was so feel good. I mean, and now I have to watch like every Atlanta Dream game just to see her. I mean, I think if you're a fan, you know her on the court, but it felt like we really got to know Allisha Gray off the court during this whole All-Star weekend. Friday night, obviously winning both competitions, such feel good, amazing comments after the game. Then we see her at the All-Star game, dropping in 16, being an awesome teammate. She was smiling the whole time. Oh, so feel good. I love it. It was just like one of these surprise moments that now I feel like, we all know her and we all fell in love with her. So Allisha Gray, class act, amazing comments, heart of gold, huge new fan here, feel good moment of the week. And that is it, people. That is our show. If you have a chance, listen to Good Game with Sarah Spain. Listen to it every day because it's a fantastic show. What a Joke on Sirius Radio, Channel 93. I'll be on doing Olympic coverage. And also just go see, everyone watches women's sports. Go see these games. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's an All-Star weekend, great. If it's just a regular game, great. Because the energy, the atmosphere, the excitement is second to none. Take care of yourselves out there. Fans, friends, family, have the best week of your life.